just spent the entire night preparing for this exam. Fortunately, there at the hall, the questions are the very same thing you spent the previous night studying, only to realize you cannot remember any single one of it. Does it sound familiar? José Silva discovered why this happens and how to fix it. Today, I'm going to show you how to read so that you actually remember what you read. Silva's mind control method reveals that the problem isn't your brain, it's how you're reading. I'm going to give you 4 specific techniques to transform how you read and remember. Let's get into it. Most of us read the same way we were taught in school. We sit down, open the book, and start reading from word 1. Our eyes move across the page. We finish a chapter, we close the book, and then nothing sticks. A week later, someone mentions the book. We remember we read it, but we can't recall the main ideas. We can't explain what we learned. We just have this vague sense that we read something about something. It's frustrating because we spent hours reading. We put in the time, but our brain treated those hours like watching scenery pass by on a highway. It all blurred together. Silva realized that this happens because we're reading passively. We're letting words flow past our eyes without giving our brain a reason to hold on to them. It's like trying to catch water with your bare hands. The information just slides right through. Imagine someone is telling you a story, but they're speaking in a monotone voice, never making eye contact, and showing no emotion. Even if the story is interesting, your brain checks out. It has no hooks to grab onto. That's what passive reading does. Your eyes see the words, but your brain never gets the signal that this information is worth storing. So it doesn't. It's not forgotten. It was never properly filed in the first place. Silva's approach to reading is completely different. He taught that reading should be an active conversation with the material. Your brain needs interest, emotion, and connection to remember anything. So you have to deliberately create those things while you read. Here are 4 techniques Silva developed specifically for reading retention. These will change how you absorb information from books. 1. The pre-reading interest builder. Most people just open a book and start reading. Silva said that's backwards. Before you read a single word, you need to create interest in your mind. Here's how it works. Before you start a chapter or section, spend 2 minutes building anticipation. Look at the chapter title, read any subheadings, scan the first and last paragraph. Now ask yourself what you want to learn from this section. Let's say you're reading a book about productivity and the next chapter is called The Power of Morning Routines. Before diving in, think about your own morning. Think about how chaotic it feels. Wonder what successful people do differently. Get curious about what you might learn. This does something powerful. It primes your brain to look for answers. Now when you read, you're hunting for information instead of just consuming it. Your brain knows what it's looking for, so it pays attention. Silva used to tell his students about a man who could read medical textbooks and remember almost everything. His secret wasn't a photographic memory. Before reading each chapter, he'd spend 5 minutes thinking about patients he'd seen with those conditions. He created personal relevance before he ever started reading. Before you read anything, spend 2 minutes getting interested. Look ahead at what's coming. Think about what you want to know. Create questions in your mind. Now your brain has a mission. 2. The visualization reading technique. Your brain remembers pictures better than words. So as you read, turn the words into mental movies. When you read that Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, don't just read those words and move on. Stop for 3 seconds. Picture Lincoln standing there. See the crowd. Imagine his voice. Feel the weight of that moment. When you read about a concept, visualize it. If you are reading about compound interest, picture money literally multiplying in a bank account. See the numbers growing. Make it visual and concrete, not abstract. This is how children's brains work naturally. When you read a kid a story about a dragon, they see the dragon in their mind. They hear it roar. They feel the heat from its breath. That's why kids can retell stories perfectly. They didn't read words. They experienced a movie. Silva discovered that adults lose this ability because we're taught to read faster. We're told visualization slows us down, and it does. You'll read slower, but then reading faster while remembering nothing is useless. Reading slower while remembering everything is powerful. As you read, pause every few paragraphs. Turn what you just read into a mental image. Make it vivid. Add color, movement, sound. The more detailed your mental movie, the better you'll remember it. 3. The emotional engagement method. Remember, emotion is your brain's highlighter. If something has emotional energy, it gets stored immediately. So you need to inject emotion into what you're reading. This sounds weird at first. How do you add emotion to a business book or a history textbook? Silva taught a simple trick. Relate everything to people and consequences. Let's say you're reading about the stock market crash of 1929. Don't just read the facts and figures. Think about a single family in that moment. Picture a father coming home to tell his wife they lost everything. Feel that fear. Imagine their kids not understanding why everything changed. Or you're reading a book about marketing strategies. Don't just absorb the technique. Imagine using it for your own business. Picture the success it could create. Feel the excitement of landing that big client. Or imagine the frustration if you don't use it and your competitor does. Silva would say, make it personal, make it emotional, make it real. Your brain doesn't care about abstract concepts, but it cares deeply about human stories and personal stakes. Here's a powerful example. Silva once worked with a law student who couldn't remember case law. Every case blurred together. Silva told him to imagine himself as the defendant in each case. Suddenly, every case mattered deeply. His retention went through the roof. As you read, constantly ask, how does this affect real people? How does this affect me? What would happen if this went wrong? Add human stakes to everything you read. 4. The active recall reading system. This is the most powerful technique Silva taught for reading. Most people read, close the book, and move on. Silva said you need to stop regularly and actively recall what you just read. Here's the system. After every section or every few pages, close the book. Now, without looking back, try to explain what you just read out loud. Pretend you're teaching it to someone. Use your own words. Reconstruct the main points from memory. This feels hard at first. You'll blank out. You'll struggle. That's the point. That struggle is your brain creating strong filing systems for that information. Every time you force yourself to recall something, you're building a stronger pathway to it. Think of it like this. Reading without recall is like walking through a forest once. You might vaguely remember the path, but forcing yourself to recall is like walking that same path 10 times. Now it's a clear trail your brain can follow easily. Silva emphasized that this is where most people fail with reading. They treat reading like a one-way street. Information goes in, but it never gets tested or used. Without recall, your brain sees no reason to keep it accessible. Set a timer while reading. Every 10 to 15 minutes, stop and close the book. Spend 2 minutes explaining what you just read out loud. Do this in your own words. If you can't explain it, read that section again. Then try again. Here's one more quick technique. As you read, constantly connect new information to things you already know. Your brain is a web of knowledge. New information sticks when you attach it to existing threads. Reading about a new productivity system, compare it to systems you've tried before. What's similar? What's different? Reading about World War I, connect it to World War II, which you already know about. Connect it to current events. Silva discovered that isolated information disappears, but connected information becomes part of your permanent knowledge structure. Every connection you make is another way to retrieve that information later. After reading each section, identify one thing you already knew that connects to what you just learned. Write it in the margin or in your notes. Build the web. Here's the truth about reading retention. It has nothing to do with how smart you are or how good your memory is. It's about how you engage with what you're reading. Silva proved that your brain is perfectly capable of remembering everything you read, but you have to give it what it needs: interest, visualization, emotion, and active recall. The 5 techniques we covered today work together. Build interest before you read. Turn words into mental pictures as you read. Add emotional stakes to make it matter. Use active recall to strengthen the pathways. And connect everything to what you already know. Do this, and you'll remember more from one book than most people remember from 10. If you forget names seconds after meeting people, blank out during tests, or constantly lose your keys, stay with me. Most of us believe we have bad memory. We meet someone new, they tell us their name, and 5 minutes later, it's gone. We study for hours and still blank out on the test. We put down our phone and spend 20 minutes looking for it. We make jokes about it. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. I have the memory of a goldfish. José Silva discovered something incredible. He said you don't actually ever forget anything. Every piece of information that enters your mind gets stored. The real problem is that your brain never found it interesting enough to file it properly. Your brain is like a massive library. When something important happens, like your last birthday or some major news that affected you, your brain doesn't just put that book on a shelf. It creates a huge display with lights, signs, and directions pointing right to it. You can find it instantly. But when someone says, "Hi, I'm Kevin," at a networking event while you're stressed and distracted, your brain just throws that book randomly on some shelf in a dark basement. The book is still there. You just have no clue where to look for it. Silva figured out that we don't have memory problems. We have interest problems. Our brains remember exactly what grabs our attention and connects to something meaningful. Everything else isn't forgotten. It's just badly organized. So how do we fix this? Silva gave us a simple framework. Make information interesting to your brain by creating connections. Here are 4 techniques you can start using right now. 1. The interest bridge technique. This one is simple. When you need to remember something boring, force your mind to find something interesting about it. Here's an example. You meet someone named Jennifer. Most people just repeat the name over and over. Jennifer, Jennifer, Jennifer. That doesn't work because you're not giving your brain anything to grab onto. Instead, connect it to something. Does she remind you of another Jennifer? Does the name make you think of a movie character? Can you link something about her appearance or personality to the name? Let's say you think Jennifer, like Jennifer Lawrence. This Jennifer also has that confident energy when she talks. Now you've created multiple paths to that name in your brain. You can get to it from different directions. Silva told a story about a businessman who could never remember client names. After one really embarrassing moment where he blanked on a major client's name, he started using this technique. Within a few weeks, everyone was amazed at his photographic memory. His brain didn't change. He just started giving his brain something to work with. Next time you need to remember something, spend 10 seconds making it interesting. Connect it to something you already know or care about. The connection can be silly. Actually, the sillier the better. 2. The event wrapper method. Your brain is built to remember stories, not random facts. Think about it. You can remember the entire plot of a movie you watched years ago, including character names and key scenes, but you can't remember the grocery list you made this morning. One was a story. One was just a list. So wrap your information in a story. Let's say you need to remember to buy milk after work. Don't just think, buy milk. Build a mini movie in your head. Picture yourself leaving your office. Feel the cool evening air on your skin. Hear your footsteps in the parking garage. You get in your car and turn toward the grocery store. You see that specific turn you'll make. You walk through the automatic doors. You smell that store smell. You grab the cart with the squeaky wheel. You head straight to the dairy section and grab the milk. By wrapping it in sensory details and a sequence of events, you've turned a forgettable task into a memorable experience. When you leave work, one piece of that story will trigger the rest like falling dominoes. When you need to remember something important, build a vivid mini-movie around it. Add sights, sounds, smells, and feelings. Make yourself the main character. 3. The excitement injection. Emotion is your brain's highlighter. Anything with emotional charge gets stored immediately and recalled instantly. Think about this. You remember every detail of your first kiss, but you can't remember what you had for lunch 3 days ago. The difference isn't that one event was longer. It's that one had emotional energy. If you're studying something that feels boring, inject enthusiasm into it. Change how you think about it. Take the Treaty of Versailles. On the surface, it's just another old document. Boring. But when you realize that this single agreement reshaped the entire 20th century, that World War II might not have happened without these specific terms, that this piece of paper changed millions of lives, suddenly it's not boring anymore. It's a pivotal moment in human history. Silva used to say that boredom is a choice. You can make anything boring by treating it like a chore, or you can choose to find what makes it fascinating. Before studying something, spend 1 minute getting excited about it. Make it personal. Figure out why it matters. 4. The 3-point connection system. Memory gets stronger with multiple connections. It's like securing a tent with several stakes instead of just one. The more connections you create, the easier it is to find that memory later. Here's the system. For anything you want to remember, create 3 types of connections. 1. Visualization. Create a mental picture as vivid as possible. 2. Personalization. Connect it to your own life or something you already know. 3. Unusualization. Make it weird, funny, or exaggerated. Let's use Abraham Lincoln being the 16th president as an example. Visualization. Picture Lincoln's famous beard and tall hat. Now imagine the number 16 embroidered in gold on his hat. Personalization. Sweet 16. Lincoln became president during America's Sweet 16 moment, its coming of age through the Civil War. Unusualization. Imagine 16 tiny Lincolns standing on each other's shoulders to make one full-height Lincoln giving a speech. Ridiculous? Absolutely. But that's exactly why it works. Your brain evolved to remember unusual things and ignore ordinary things. In the wild, noticing a regular bush was useless. but remembering the bush that moved differently could save your life. Think of something you need to remember right now. Apply all 3 connections to it. Make it visual, personal, and unusual. The weirder, the better. Do you get it now? Your mind isn't broken. You don't have a bad memory. You have a sophisticated system that remembers what matters. And it decides what matters based on interest and connection. When you stop fighting your memory and start working with how it actually works, everything changes. You're not forcing information into your head anymore. You're making information so interesting that your mind naturally holds onto it.